The kick and the bass own the low end in any modern music production. In Synthwave, this isn't the exception. The right kick pattern will complement the bass and provide your track with the power and momentum it needs to deliver your message. As a drummer with over 20 years of experience, I listened to hundreds of Synthwave tracks and will show you the kick patterns most used by the pros and how you can use them in your tracks starting today. Let's get to it. For all the examples that we'll cover today, the one thing that won't change is that the snare will play a simple rock and roll backbeat on the 2 and 4. To create a 4 on the floor pattern, set your grid to quarter notes or 1/4, and then enter a note on every vertical grid line. It sounds like this. Four on the floor is characteristic of electronic dance music, and the term originates from disco. You can hear it everywhere. It provides a simple yet heavy and solid groove. You can use it in a wide variety of tempos, all the way down from 60 BPM up to 130 BPM. After 130 BPM, it may feel too heavy, so it may be better to switch over to pattern number 2, but again, it's all up to you. I'm gonna change the project tempo to 60 BPM. Here it sounds good. Now let's speed it up to 130. Sounds good too. Now if we go over this, maybe let's say 160. It's a matter of taste. Personally, I would switch over to kick on the 1 and 3 or some other pattern. 4 on the floor goes along very well with almost all bass patterns, since it leaves ample room for the bass to fill in the space between the beats, if so desired. For this kick pattern, we're still gonna keep our grid set to 1/4 or quarter notes, and then simply enter a kick note on the first and third beats of the bar, like this. This is how it sounds. It is similar to 4 on the floor, but less heavy, so you can use it as a lighter alternative. In terms of tempos, just like 4 on the floor, you can use it all the way down from, let's say, 60 BPM, but this one can go higher, all the way, let's say, to 180 BPM. Let's go down to 60. Then all the way up to 180. In this example, the bass pattern obviously is not working at this high a tempo. The kick pattern does work. This kind of kick works great with most bass patterns. It leaves ample room between the beats for syncopated bass notes. For this kind of pattern, set your grid to 8th notes and experiment with entering notes on the beat and in between, like this. Really, it's all up to you where you want to place those notes. For example, you can vary it like this. Or you can also leave some room for the groove to breathe, like this. You can listen to most mainstream pop, rock, and country songs for inspiration. Now make sure to leave space and not clutter up the groove too much. A pattern with 8th note variations sounds less rigid than patterns number 1 and 2. It's more agile, if you will. It gives the groove more dynamics and syncopation. You can also use it effectively from very slow tempos such as 60 BPM all the way up to higher tempos like 180 BPM. It's going to play an example at 60 BPM. All the way up to 180. This kick pattern works very well when the bass is playing rolling 16th or 8th notes. If the bass plays a groove, make sure each kick note aligns with the bass note to give the music more power and punch. For this kick pattern, set your grid to 16th notes and experiment with entering notes on the beat and on the 2nd and 4th 16th notes. Also listen to mainstream pop, rock, and country for inspiration. Let's start with entering kicks on the 1 and 3. Now we can double up some of these notes, like so. Of course, you can enter 16th notes wherever you want. Here's another variation you can try. To really give it a 16th note feel to your drum hits, like I said, try to use the 2nd and the 4th 16th notes. So for example, okay, this is the 2nd 16th note, this is the 4th. The offbeat kick hits can give the groove a funky vibe. Don't put too many in a row or in places that may sound awkward. Again, listen to examples from pop and rock. This kick pattern sounds good from slow tempos at around 60 BPM all the way up to 130 BPM, but above that, the groove may sound too cluttered and unstable. Let's check this out at 60 BPM. Okay, sounds good. At 130. Still sounds good, but if we were to go to a higher tempo, such as, let's say, 160, it sounds a little chaotic, neurotic. If that's what you're going for, then great, but otherwise, at this tempo, you may be well served to change to another pattern, such as on the 1-3 or 8th notes with a little bit more space in the groove. This kind of kick works best when the bass is playing rolling 16th notes. In case the bass is playing a groove, just make sure that every kick hit aligns with the bass note. Set your grid to 16th notes and experiment with entering notes on the beat as well as the 3 available 16th notes. The middle 16th note is at the same time the offbeat 8th note from pattern number 3. Listen to mainstream pop, rock, and country for inspiration. Don't use too many notes or you may clutter up the groove. Okay, so let's start with the simple 1 and 3. Now let's spice it up with some 8th notes and 16th notes. That works fine. Let's try another one. Yet another one. Just trying to find the right balance of syncopation and the groove. Again, so it doesn't sound too cluttered. Yet another example. Mixing 8ths and 16ths gives the most flexibility to find the right groove for your track. You can use this kind of kick in slow tempos from 60 BPM all the way up to 130 BPM. As with the other patterns, above 130, use with caution, and just make sure to put the notes in the right places where they feel stable and add to the groove and not clutter it up. Let's go to a very slow tempo of 60 BPM. Sounds good. Let's go up to 160. You see, at this tempo, this note doesn't sound good, and this may sound too chaotic. So this is where you may have to strip down your pattern a little bit just to make it flow better. That sounds way better than the second part. This kick works best with 16 rolling bass patterns or grooves that use 16th notes. Again, just make sure your kicks align with the bass notes. Now that you know these 5 kick patterns, you can listen to almost any synthwave track and quickly identify which one is being used. Not only that, but you have added new techniques to your arsenal that you can apply in your music from this point onward. Experiment and have fun.